Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in with me, Gloria Selinda. I'm very excited to be with you once more to continue reflecting on the topic of true personal identity. Today's reflection is on the dangers of ignoring red flags in relationships. Ignoring red flags in relationships presents a threat to your true personal identity, especially in the long run. You find that you are connecting with another person, whether it is a friend, whether it is a colleague, whether it is a life partner. And if you start noticing behaviors that are against your true personal identity, and you give them time without addressing them as you experience them, then they become a threat to your relationship in the long run. They become a threat to your true personal identity in the long run. And how that presents itself is that the longer you accept behaviors that you're not comfortable with, you are allowing the other party, in whatever form of relationship that you are in, to continue treating you in the way that they are treating you, which may be a disrespectful way. Because you're not saying anything, you are actually training them to treat you in that way. So in the short term, it may come across as something petty, but in the long run, these behaviors that you are accepting and tolerating build up to how you end up being treated holistically. And when you delay addressing these matters or you ignore these red flags, then most of the time you spend most time in that relationship trying to protect yourself or trying to defend your position or trying to defend your true personal identity, because now you are so conflicted that you are finding yourself compromised, and you have to, in a way, fight back. So it becomes quite important to be alert when you allow people to be in your life, especially when it is people that you value in your life, that you are very aware of how you are experiencing those individuals and whether it is a healthy way of experiencing them or not. If it is not healthy, it is important for you to address what you are noticing very early on in that relationship. Before I carry on, I do want to appreciate all of you who continue to tune in. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. If you have not yet subscribed, please click the subscribe button, and I would like to ask you to continue sharing the link with others so that we can learn and grow together. The tendency to ignore red flags in relationships is quite common, and it can happen in any kind of relationship, but it is quite common in close relationships, especially in marital relationships. So it is very important that when you are aware of your true personal identity, you are observant, and over and above that, you do not only accept what comes to you, but as you get to understand how you are experiencing the individual, that you address whatever it is that you are experiencing in time. You don't want to get to a point where you are finding yourself having to fight, having to defend, having to protect, and at that point, you are quite deep in the relationship. And the one thing that we take for granted is that when we do allow some of these behaviors, and it could be small things in the beginning, to continue, we may not be compromising our true personal identity at that time. However, as the behavior continues, it builds up, the unhealthiness builds up, the disrespect builds up to a point where you realize, you know what, I need to do something different. By that time, you may be deep in that relationship. So it is better to address and to set boundaries earlier on in the relationship. It is better, even if you may have to make difficult choices earlier on in that relationship, to do so quite early, because you are saving yourself from the heartache having to fight at a later stage. And by that time, you realize that you have allowed the other person to continue in their behavior for so long that they are even surprised why this is a problem, because it has always been done in that specific way and there has not been a problem before. So it becomes even a greater conflict in that relationship. And so the call to action for today's reflection is: be aware of what threatens your true personal identity. Don't only think about what is happening in the short term, reflect on the consequences in the long run, because whatever we allow to continue, it builds up to the long run. So ask yourself a question: how will I feel if I am still experiencing this relationship in this specific way in the next 15 years? Is it something that is healthy for me? Is it something that is healthy for my true personal identity? Will I be able to live according to my true personal identity in this relationship, even in that long run, in that 10 years, in that 15 years, or even longer? So it is quite important to be asking yourself those questions early on. If you are already in a situation like that, the statement "better late than never" becomes a good statement. As you reflect, as you discover, or you are confirming something that you already know, taking action is the next thing that is advisable to do. Delays or ignoring the red flags in the short term result in heartache, it results in suffering in the long run. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until next time,